Hello guys, this is going to be a review of the Beats Studio Wireless by Dr. Dre. Now the Beats Studio Wireless is essentially the 2013 redesigned Beats Studio with the addition of Bluetooth capabilities. Now the redesigned Studio actually caught my interest when I heard them. It actually had a relatively balanced sound with some good detail and clarity. Also, the design was a lot more slimmer, much more lower profile, much more sleeker in appearance and not as bulky as the older Studios. So the color that I chose right here for the wireless is the all matte black finish, and this is a very nice, mature color scheme that really isn't tacky and just screaming for attention like all of these other colorful Beats that we've pretty much all seen. This color and the titanium, which is like a champagne silverish finish, are my two favorite colors. Those are both very mature, very elegant, sophisticated looking colors, and this is a very nicely designed headphone. I actually like the curves that this headphone has. It's a very beautiful headphone. Also, in terms of fingerprints, this fairly catches it, but it's more along the lines of the oil from your skin is what this catches, as opposed from the fingerprints that the gloss finish would catch. Both of them are somewhat annoying. As you can see, it picks up the oils. I believe that the champagne, either the most fingerprint or oil from your skin proof finish, whereas you won't really see much of it on that coating. But I actually prefer this one over the glossy. The glossy is just, it gets very messy after you touch it. So within the box, once you remove the red lid, you're greeted with the original remastered. You have this little strap here, you just pull up, and nestled in this cradle would be the case, and inside the case would be the headphones collapsed inside. Beneath that you would get, let's see here, your typical Beats documentation. I really don't want to get into that. It's just basically showcasing the other products and all this marketing about Beats. You get this little rectangular box which pretty much holds a wide assortment of cables. This was pretty much my older charger, but you get a Beats branded charger which has a 5-volt 2.1 amperage output, which is pretty high. You get a red cable. I believe this is the cable that has the inline microphone. Actually, this is the USB cable. So this is the USB to micro USB cable to charge the headphones. Pretty much any micro USB cable is compatible with this headphone, which is why I still have this wrapped up inside of the box. The other red cable is essentially the inline microphone remote talk cable, typical with all Beats headphones, and pretty much limited to the specific color that you have chose. You get an all black auxiliary cable. I believe with the titanium finish, you get I believe it was a titanium finish pretty much cable which matches the color scheme. But the downside to these cables that match the color scheme of the headphones is that they do not have an inline microphone. It's just a pure auxiliary cable to transmit sound from the source to the headphones. These headphones, which is pretty nice, can be utilized via wired or wireless capabilities. Okay, so diving back to the Beats Studio wireless headphones. Now let's start off with essentially the comfortability and how these essentially feel around my head. Now these are very, 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 very comfortable headphones because of its essentially predominantly plastic design. Still pretty durable and well built in its construction. However, the plastic design results in a much more lighter weight than a typical metal based design headphone. So as a result of the lighter weight, it essentially puts a lot less pressure on your head. However, there's still somewhat of a clamping pressure. However, the pads are very, very subtle, very, very, very soft to the touch, and as well as the headband padding. It's a very comfortable headphone that pretty much just hugs your head. It's very, very low profile on your head. There's hardly any gaps. There's nothing really protruding out from the head. So this is a very snug, sort of somewhat near custom fit type feeling that these headphones give. So I'd rate the comfortability on these headphones exceptionally high, amongst the most comfortable headphones that I've ever worn. In terms of the construction, like I said previously, this is predominantly a plastic headphone. However, the plastic is of high quality and it's well put together. There's no oddities in the seamless design. Pretty much everything just flows as one. It's a very nicely designed and constructed headphone. The hinge mechanism has been improved over the older studios, whereas the older ones, as well as the solos, were just notorious for just snapping at this area. Beats says that they've pretty much reinforced this hinge. I don't really feel any, doubt here, but I wouldn't really try to be so rugged with this. So pretty much, yeah, this is it's a relatively well built headphone. For the price, I would rather a leather or some metal or some steel involved, which I'm pretty sure there's steel in the reinforcement for the headbands, but hey, I like the way these look, despite the fact that they're not as well built as some of the headphones in this price range. Now, let's essentially get into the sound quality of the Studio Wireless. And let me begin saying that when I first even thought about these headphones, it was kind of somewhat off-putting because of the fact that it's a wireless headphone, which results in reliance on Bluetooth technology. And with Bluetooth technology, essentially the sound quality isn't normally as good as, say, a wired connection, because it involves sending radio frequency waves from the source to the headphones, in which the headphones then has to essentially decode the digital signal and then amplify it using its own internal circuitry. And who knows if the circuitry within the headphones is going to be adequate for someone such as myself, who's very critical when listening to music. But I will be pretty much happy to report that the Beats Studio Wireless actually offers a relatively enjoyable listen. I pretty much enjoy the way these sound in their wireless state. In terms of the frequency response, the overall balance of this headphone is typical of Beats, where the bass is a lot more elevated than the rest of the frequencies, but it's more tastefully done in the studios here, whereas the bass is not over exaggerated like the older Beats, including the Beats Pros. The bass on this is actually moderately elevated, but it still doesn't really drown out the other frequencies. It's a very engaging level of bass, somewhat similar to what the V-Motor M100s had. But I really like the integration of the bass from this, that it integrates with the mid-range a lot more seamlessly than the M100s did. So in terms of the technicalities, the bass frequency on this headphone is pretty tight. It's a very, very tight and articulated sounding bass, but it's somewhat maybe because of the relatively average size of the soundstage, the bass can kind of cloudy up some of the other frequencies, but it's not very it's not that big of a problem. It's just minor. When the music gets a bit too complex, the bass on this and its elevation over the other frequencies, in addition to the size of the soundstage, it can kind of create a sort of like a cloudy effect to the overall sound image. Other than that, the bass is a relatively great bass. I really like this bass. It doesn't really overstep its boundaries and cause havoc on the other frequencies, unless the music gets very complex. Now, moving on to the mid-range, these have a very forward-sounding, warm mid-range where the vocals sort of stand out and actually have some juice and some body to it. The articulation in the mid-range is actually pretty good. It has pretty much some instrument separation going on in here, and I'm pretty amazed here. Being that, one, it's Beats, and two, it's over wireless technology, where I'm actually getting sound that I can enjoy, being someone like myself that is very critical when listening to music. So the mid-range here, I love the tonality of the mid-range. It has that nice sense of warmth, and it actually has articulation in the mid-range, and everything seems to have a very good sense of realism in terms of the tonality not being off and being too bright or being too warm, it has a very good mid-range. I like this mid-range. Now moving over to the treble, I realized that the treble presence now is a bit more escalated than previous Beats, where they sort of like disregarded treble and just put too much focus into the bass. So the treble on the Beats Wireless is actually pretty nice. It's very articulated, very shimmery, very sparkly sounding treble that doesn't really, overemphasize itself and create unrealistic senses of transient responses or add sibilance to the vocals, creating a very unrealistic sound and tonality in the overall music. This has a very, I'll say, a safe level of treble, but when it really is necessary, the treble will actually sparkle from this headphone, and it will pretty much give you a very energetic feeling because of the dynamic sense of the treble, and the bass on these headphones gives you a very energetic feel to your music. So in terms of the articulation and the overall sound within the soundstage, like I said before, the soundstage size on these is relatively average for a headphone. But in terms of the articulation and separation of the instruments, is actually pretty good. And you can pretty much somewhat begin to play stuff in the stereoscape and the stereo soundstage and get a sense of performance happening, but it's not as exquisite as, say, the NAD HP50 from the NAD VISO HP50, there we go, or the Bowers & Wilkins P7. Those headphones, of course, offer a more clear, open, articulated sound, but being that this is working with a wireless technology, especially for its size and being Beats, I am still surprised at the sound quality that is coming from this specific headphone from this brand. Also from the technology that is wireless. I can't really stress that enough. So overall, I enjoy this sound. This is not the sound that I will go off and say you can utilize these for critical listening. No. There's much better headphones for that. But if you just want to tune out and enjoy your music and just pretty much just tune out the world, these headphones are pretty nice. Like, I go outside with these and it's just wireless, it's so convenient, and it's just pretty much an overall very enjoyable sound. And being that they also are very comfortable, pretty much their size is very small, so they're so compact and easy to carry around. Just being able to not have any wires with you when you're outside, it's a giant plus. Like, it's a very, very giant level of convenience. And the sound is actually, like, I just can't stress it enough. It's pretty much, it really shocked me. It's a very enjoyable sound. Like, I can actually listen to this sound and not sit there nitpicking at flaws, because it's just an overall good sound. So for the price of $380, it's a very tough sound quality alone. No, this is not worth $380. But when you factor in what this headphone has to offer, it's a comfortable headphone. You can pretty much carry it anywhere you pretty much can carry something around your neck, because this is essentially just as portable as an over-the-ear headphone can get. There's no wires. It's a sleek design. You can get these in, very mature colors. I will pretty much go as far as to say it's actually worth it because of what this headphone has to offer in terms of the complete package. Yeah, I think this might be something I will regret, but yeah, I think the Beats Studio Wireless are worth it for $380. If you want a headphone for general purpose use, please quote me that I don't think the sound quality for these are worth $380. Just pretty much to reiterate it again, the overall package that these headphones have to offer, I will say that it's actually worth $380. So this has been my review of the Beats Studio Wireless. If anything has not been covered that you wanted to be answered in this review, feel free to post them below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching this review. Later.